Hey dear viewer, this is Almighty Z, and Moana 2 is certainly a movie. It's got some beautiful animation and some creative visuals, yet has a tepid story that's redundant to its predecessor. Yet it's not the most movie of all movies. You see, this movie was supposed to be a 5-episode Disney Plus series, but this past January, the big brain Disney executives decided to convert it into the 1 hour, 40-minute meh burger we've received. Think of it like creating a 5-course meal, but then your family wants to eat it all at once and on one plate. You must smush your creation together to fit, and you end up with a slightly edible mess. Likewise, when you try and condense a story made for a season of a TV show into a movie, you're going to end up with problems. Like new characters to help the protagonists that are completely two-dimensional, or a second act that is equally convoluted and rushed, or a forgettable antagonist with a thin motivation, or ancestral actions that kind of break the world building, or— Alright, I get it! Wait, I'm not done. The best scenes of this movie do involve when Moana and Maui interact again. It's heartwarming to see the care and respect they still have for one another. It's also a nice reminder of what made the first movie so special. But unfortunately, neither of them goes on any significant arc that's beneficial to expanding their character. One of them basically is just treading water. But now let's go plot point by plot point and get into spoilers.
You have been warned.
The movie begins about 4 to 5 years later with Moana exploring a desolate island and finding a clay bowl. She gets excited because it's the first sign of other civilizations she or anyone from her island has found. But wait, you may be asking. Wasn't the end of the first movie showing how the island of Motunui was on board with being voyagers? And with an entire island willing to explore again, they haven't found any other people? I know the ocean's big, but how is that possible? Well, here are the explanations. We know about the time difference because when Moana gets home, we meet her 3 to 4-year-old younger sister. But during a ceremony to make Moana the island's official wayfinder, she gets a vision from the last wayfinder. He tells her she can't find people because the island of Motufitu, that helped connect islands in the past, has been sunk. And the culprit is Nalo, a storm god who wants to control all mortals by stopping their ways to connect. The wayfinder shoots a meteor as a guide to Motufitu because somehow he can do that. And unless Moana can find and land on the island, her people will go extinct.
Everybody got that?
So along with the vision basically explaining the movie's stakes, there are more questions being raised. Like, how the hell can an ancestor just give a vision explaining all this to Moana? And why now? It would have been nice if you were around the last movie to help explain a thing or two to Moana. Like how they were voyagers and not always isolationists. Or how exactly does a lack of finding people make the home island die? They seemed fine for the last couple centuries when they didn't travel. Why is now the kiss of death? The first movie's call to action is better because there was a clear threat of extinction if Moana didn't travel. With the heart of the ocean missing, the sickness that spreads from its absence will destroy everything, so Moana had to leave. This is just they'll die because reasons. And asking for why the Force Ghost of this universe can somehow send a meteor guide is like asking a toddler to explain astrophysics. So Moana is intimidated by this new challenge and questions whether or not she should go. It's a bit odd considering she's already done a situation like this before. And if she doesn't go, the threat is death by extinction. But with good advice from her mother, Moana decides to go with a crew this time. A crotchety old farmer, a quirky ship nerd, and a Maui fanboy. These characters have names, but are so one note, I've already forgotten them. So it's easier to just call them this. The crew have trouble working together and wind up getting caught by the Kakamori pirates from the first movie. But they explain that they can't go back to their home island because of Nalo. So they ask for help from Moana and her crew to defeat him, and will have to go through a giant clam-like monster where the meteor guide also exploded. Since it's clam-like, the nerd brilliantly thinks to neutralize its collection of nerves called the ganglia.
Sure, why not?
And it works. Until it doesn't, then Moana's crew and one Kakamori gets sucked into its wormhole.
I am shocked! Shocked! Well, not that shocked.
Inside the beast, Moana gets separated from her crew. The crew happen to come across Maui, who earlier in the movie was also trying to find and destroy Nalo. But how lucky they came to the exact spot inside this beast to find him. But Maui got caught by Nalo's henchlady, Matangi, an evil goddess with the ability to control and morph into a bat. And she finds Moana first. And with all her dark and mysterious ways, reveals she wants to help Moana, shows a bullshit portal to almost their destination in the clam, and sends everyone there.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I know, Leo, I know. This whole sequence was literally pointless, and the twist of this secondary villain to do good is completely out of left field. The writers put themselves into a corner and didn't know what to do. Anyway, Maui reveals this mission is suicide as the island is sunk to the bottom of the ocean, and no mortal has ever lived after facing this god. But before they can consider their options, they're attacked by Nala's big fish monsters and throw the ship and crew onto a deserted island. This is our second act low point, and yes, this whole act could have competed with Prime Usain Bolt with how fast it was rushed. Lots of events happening with little substance in between. Moana feels discouraged, but through a song, Maui reminds her of how he helped her and she needs to keep going. With the help of the crew led by Ship Nerd, they fix the ship and set sail. They find Nalo, and the crew can suddenly just work in harmony now during this battle. Total 0 to 100, by the way. There's no scene of collaboration in between. During the battle, Maui can't completely lift the island, but Moana swims to it and touches it to defeat Nalo. But she valiantly dies in the process. But it's okay. Maui can somehow sing Moana's Force Ghost ancestors to show up and revive her while making her a demigod too.
What? What?
That's what I think happened with that last bit. Moana's got a new tattoo, and that's how Wikipedia describes the situation. And we all know Wikipedia is never wrong. And to wrap it up, the island rises and immediately Moana sees other people sailing on ships. Convenient they were so close to this island and just waiting for Nala to die. And now apparently the real exploration can begin. When I walked out of this movie, I know this was mediocre at best, but the more I've thought about it, the more it just falls in on itself like a bad souffle. It's obvious this should have stayed a Disney Plus show. The Flat crew members all go on thin arcs that weren't more fleshed out, and their banter with Moana was incredibly annoying. It wasn't funny or gave moments for revealing insecurities among themselves. This was something the first movie did tremendously, and all the ancestor Deus Ex Machinas are dumbfounding. The arc Moana goes on in this movie is how life is about not playing it safe and how there's always another way, but it's totally unnecessary. The first movie did all that when Moana realized the volcano monster lady was just a corrupted Nefidi, so the majority of aspects of this movie are just
shit!
Not even the songs come close to the original. They're okay, but they don't have the same majesty or remembrance from its predecessor. Now, I don't have a medical degree, but I attended a few classes at Hollywood Upstairs Medical College. So I would diagnose this movie as an old case of sequelitis. A movie condition where the sequel replicates plot elements, themes, and humor from the original without adding much uniqueness that doesn't hurt itself. It's very common among sequels. Speaking of, what is the next step Disney plans to take with the Moana franchise?
Oh, dear God, no!
Anywho, thank you all for watching. Expect more videos from me, Almighty Z, discussing more media from A to Z. So long.